You haven't done it yet. Oh, there you go. Finally. You caved into
Mhm.
peer pressure and hit live.
Oh, Brandy, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, Dan. It's a pleasure.
And it's good to see all of you out there as well, joining us live to discuss the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery. There is a Tide, the penultimate episode of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. I just love that word penultimate. So any chance I get to say it, I just, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's all good. It's all good.
yeah.
It's a
And
good word.
yeah, absolutely. It's a really good word. Just to start us off right away, TJ, this episode did slap. It did slap.
It did freaking slap. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
did
I
freaking
agree.
slap. That's what I have to say about this episode. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
there's not much to discuss in this one, is there?
no, should we just call it?
I
2
would just
minutes
call it
in
a
and we're
night.
done?
I don't know. I seem to recall a tweet from you saying that there seemed to be a lot to discuss.
I have things to say. Yes, I do have things to say. I have surprising no one. Surprising absolutely no one.
I'm shocked. This is my shocked face.
Yes. I have the same shocked face. Actually, my shocked face is more.
Awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, thank you all so much for joining us here. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching us on, I guess, back in the day, they called it tape delay.
Yeah.
I'm showing my age there, I guess. But yeah, I'm really happy to have everyone here. And Tom, thank you so much.
Oh, thank
really
you.
appreciate that. I'm really glad you enjoy these. And I love having all of you here. So thank you so much. Very nice.
It's like getting together with friends.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I am of course kidding. There is so much to discuss in this episode. And so much also. Bruce and I ran into this when we were recording our podcast that'll come out on Monday talking about this episode. It's this weird in-between place where there's so many things that have been set up and so many questions raised, and they're just not, we don't have the answers yet. So that's going to affect the discussion a bit, but it's still a really terrific episode.
And I'll tell you this, I don't have the answers yet either.
Ooh, they're keeping you in the dark, are they?
They did not release the screener yesterday. So I'm hoping we'll see one on Monday. And if not, then I'll just wait till Thursday like everybody else. It's just, I think it's because of the holiday.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that. So,
or maybe super secret season finale. They're trying to play coy with it, maybe.
Yeah, but they didn't do that with Lower Decks. So
yeah, that's just Lower Decks. This is Discovery.
Yeah, no, I still think that they give out screeners. So, because if you blow it, then they just take the screeners away.
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the real world of the rest of us.
Yes, well, I existed in that real world for several decades, so I remember what it's like.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of glad because it gives us a blank slate for discussing this episode. So
yes, agree.
Yeah, I won't like annoyingly try to pry secrets out of you after we're done talking as usual. Yeah. So
I have none to give.
Okay.
Not a one.
First thing I want to discuss, I guess, is the fact that this is the 800th installment of televised or filmed Star Trek that we get. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting milestone.
It is. It also apparently is up for debate among some people. But
yeah, somebody on the Positively Trek discussion group posted it's actually like 740 or something, and I'm like, where do you get that number? And he hasn't answered back yet, so I don't know where the heck he's getting that from. But if you count it out, it's 800. I didn't know counting was up for debate, I guess.
Well, I guess it just depends on whether you consider short treks in the movies and possibly something else. I don't know why there's a different system of counting. If CBS says it's the 800th installment, I'm going to go with that
Yeah.
because they are the providers of this entertainment at which we are watching. Apparently so. Apparently it's a lot harder than we thought.
Yeah, as Suzanne says, counting is hard, apparently.
Mhm.
So, yeah, oh well. Well, whatever. It's 800. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty neat.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode. First of all, we're of course picking up directly from last episode where Osira has captured Discovery and jumped away to Starfleet headquarters. And we get that pretty cool scene where the Viridian is chasing the Discovery and they're doing this whole fakey thing. This isn't a huge spoiler, I think. I won't discuss much beyond this, but Brandy, you watched The Mandalorian, right?
Oh yeah.
This was the exact same thing that they did in the season finale of The Mandalorian with the shuttle and Boba Fett's ship, right? Like that was
Isn't that funny? Because
yeah,
you know that they can't have had prior knowledge either way.
no,
It's
not at
just
all.
how things work out sometimes.
I thought that was great. I was
Yeah.
laughing. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
That doing the fake false flag operation, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, that they're not actually fighting kind of thing to
Yeah.
breach an enemy's defenses. That was pretty cool. So in this case, it was the bad guys doing that. In the other one, it was the good guys doing it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of funny. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting parallel. So,
Mhm.
but that one did drop a couple weeks earlier. So
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Mandalorian did, I mean, but
Mhm.
and it had a very big difference at the end. So,
Mhm. Absolutely.
if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, then we're not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, we won't say anything more than that. Just the
No.
interesting parallels there. But yeah, because people don't tune into us and expect Mandalorian spoilers, so I don't want to like mess up anybody's viewing experience. So
Yeah, exactly.
I like, where is it? Patrick's comment here. Crashing books ship into the shuttle bay reminded me of Emergency Landing Plan B from Star Trek V. Bruce on our podcast said like something like Burnham would say, "How many times have you done this?" And Book would turn to her and say, "Actually, it's my first attempt," or something. It's like, oh, that would have been a nice reference.
There were more than a few references to various things. There was more than one Star Trek movie reference. So, because when they're in the Jeffries tubes and the fire suppression systems come on, and Michael's trying to kick that person off of her, it reminded me of, I have had enough of you.
That did pass through my mind. I was kind of thinking she might say something kind of quippy or action movie like there, and that definitely did go through my head. Yeah, and of course, famously in that scene, Burnham loses her boots, which maybe not a direct reference intended, but I think it was not to a Star Trek movie, but of course to Die Hard, which there were a lot of elements of that felt very familiar in this episode as well.
Yes, and I think that was purposeful.
I'm
And
noticing the hashtag.
yeah, I really do. Because my husband and I both, while we were watching this episode, were just like, okay, they can't get any more Die Hard than this. Yeah, she's not bleeding on her from the feet, but she is bleeding and leaving a blood trail.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are some distinct similarities. The lone person who is roaming through the ship and taking out bad guys one by one. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
taunting the person in charge. You deserve it, Sarah. Um, just fun things like that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, directed as Sabco here mentions, directed by Jonathan Frakes. I feel like he had a lot of fun directing this one. There's some really cool camera moves and some really interesting directorial choices. So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing he said more than once, that on Discovery, it's like, hey, you want to try something crazy? Go for it. Basically, is whatever they want to try, they'll try and make it work. If it doesn't work, then they move on. If it does work, well, usually ends up in the episode.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing also, just as I'm speaking this, and we're jumping all over the episode, there's no linear whatever to this. It's
all good.
Spoilers if you haven't seen it. We're gonna, yeah. So
well, duh. I mean, if you're here,
yeah.
you know we are gonna spoil it.
Exactly. So yeah, when Burnham gets the knife into her thigh, when it happens, her face, I just, for whatever reason, while I was watching that, all I could think that she was thinking was like, when did I last get a tetanus shot? Damn. And I know, of course, we're centuries past probably needing that, but that's, if you just watch her face with that in mind, it's darkly funny. Like, it's not supposed to be a funny moment, but like
No.
I kind of snickered and I was like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be laughing at this point.
Yeah, see, and I was just feeling pain because in my left leg, which was the leg in which she got stabbed, I have a very arthritic femur that
Ooh.
will often feel like someone is scraping it with a knife. And so when that knife went into her thigh, my leg went, oh no, thank you.
Oh.
And that look on her face said to me, how could I possibly let this happen? Now I'm injured and this is the first guy I'm taking out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a brutal fight. Very well choreographed though. Very, like, a lot of the action in this episode. I almost said movie because yeah, it feels like a movie. A lot of the action in this episode is just incredible.
It is, and that particular sequence just really made me feel her pain because she was so good at performing that pain. I absolutely believed every movement, like when she's pulling the knife out, when she's trying to get to her feet, when she's staggering off, those small sounds that she makes in each of those steps, and her face swelling with pain. I mean, how did she do that? So I believed every second of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's keep talking about Burnham then. We'll focus on this part of the episode for now. One thing that she does during her Die Hard adventure on Discovery as well is she gets in contact. Well, she doesn't get in contact, but she sends a message to her mom on Navarre, which I thought was interesting. And is it setting up a? Well, okay. Here's the question. Do the Romulans of Navarre still have a whole bunch of warbirds? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, there's that. The first thing that I thought was she's sending this message to her mother. I don't think she's sending it for help per se, but she is sending it to say, I might not see you again. I want you to know what happened. And I'm thinking, the Co-op Mila do pledge themselves to lost causes.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely. That was my thinking there as well,
Sounds
for
a
sure.
lot like a lost cause. So yeah, I would not be surprised if they shut up.
Yeah,
In fact,
I wouldn't be
I'm
surprised
hoping for it.
Okay, what else? Let's focus on Burnham here because there's some interesting stuff with her as well, and Stamets, which I think
my word.
this is the part that I was like, oh,
Stamets in
man.
this whole episode. Oh my god. He got to do so many fun things in this episode that we've seen a lot of a different side of Stamets this season, and that's mostly thanks to Adira. And now we've confirmed that he thinks of Adira as their father. So he thinks of Adira as their child, and that she definitely sees them as their child. So space dads rule. But not just that. I mean, he got to have that wonderful scene with Ken Mitchell, and that scene with Michael that just
heart-wrenching.
So heart-wrenching because I can see both sides of it, and I can see how much they're both hurting. And that's the one that made me cry this week.
That was my thought watching that scene for the first time was this is Brandy's. Yeah,
this is Brandy's cry point. Yes. Well, that's the second cry point. The first
I
credit.
figured there's other ones too, but that one for sure, I thought.
Definitely. And I should have been more prepared because the second time that we watched it, I knew that was coming, and I still didn't grab a tissue, and so Dave had to hand me one because he's good like that. He's just like, "Oh, she sniffled. Here's a tissue."
Oh, yeah. And Anthony Rapp, holy
Oh
mackerel.
my word.
Oh, he knocked it out of the park there. When he's yelling so hard, his throat is hoarse. Like you can, the hoarseness in his voice when he's yelling that we followed you to the future. Hugh followed you, and like my entire life's in that nebula. Oh man, chills from that scene. I didn't cry, but I got chills, and like I was very moved for sure.
It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, I don't know if Stamets is gonna forgive Burnham. We'll see what happens in the finale.
Here's the thing. I think honestly, and I think we all think this, that if Adira and Hugh were on the ship, this wouldn't have been the same scene because he would not have had the same reaction.
Well, of course, yeah.
Because he doesn't know what's happening to them, that uncertainty, fear, and anger is coming to the surface, and he is putting it all on Michael.
Absolutely, yeah.
Honestly, if their positions were reversed, he would have done the same thing. But he can't see that right now. And so I think that can be mended, and I think they can forgive each other, but it's not going to be overnight.
For sure. And I think like what's going to happen, of course, is they're going to rescue Hugh and Saru, I think. And it's going to prove to have been the right choice, obviously, to get Stamets away from the control of Osira, who still is in control of the ship. Like, they don't have the ship back, right? So getting Stamets out of there is the right choice, I think.
Yes, because no Stamets, no spore drive worky.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we'll let's move on to Osira, because the first appearance of Osira, I liked her, but was kind of just like a bit of a generic villain. The second appearance of her, I was like last week's, I should say. She was more well-rounded, more interesting. I was more on board with her. This week, I love Osira. I think she does a terrific job in this episode, and I'm just like, what is going on? Because this episode challenged my expectations in so many different ways. I was totally on board for the whole Osira Vance negotiation. Every scene with the two of them was just brilliant.
Yes, I agree, and I have many words of praise for Oded Fair. As far as Osira, I'm not bored by her anymore. However, still, what is going on with her accent?
See, now I listened closely for that this week, and I still didn't really notice what you're talking about.
On some words, she says hard R's at the end, like, like if I were to say car, and then sometimes she'll say board instead of board. And there is no consistency whatsoever. It's like she'll say the same word 3 different ways in one speech. And I don't understand. It's like, where are you from? This cannot be every Orion's accent.
I wonder, and I'm just forming this in my head because, again, for myself, I didn't catch on that anyway. Now I'm wondering in my head, and this may be reading way too much into it, but there seems to be, and I'm not speaking literally here, but there seems to be different Osiras, if that makes sense. And I'm wondering if it's like a choice. I probably not. I'm probably reading way too much into it. But like when she's around Aurelio, she seems to be one person. And then when she's dealing with Vance, she seems to be another person. And when she's dealing with like her henchmen, she seems to be yet another person. And I'm, like I said, I'm probably giving way too much credit, but I'm like, ooh, I wonder if there's like she's in different modes or something, or shifting between them constantly kind of thing.
No, because she has shifted. Her accent has been all over the place when talking to just one person. So
Well, that's why I said she's just shifting in and out all the time, kind of thing. But
yeah, but that no, I don't think that there's actually any sense behind it. I really just have no idea what is going on there. And it's just it's jarring for me, I guess,
Mhm.
because I noticed it way back when she showed up at Quejon. I noticed it then, and it has not changed. It actually has become more noticeable the more she talks. And the thing is, I know the actor is from Canada, so it's
Mhm.
not like she was like a Gillian Anderson and born in the UK and then, stayed in America for a while and then, or also Amanda Tapping, same way, she's born in the UK. So and
Mhm.
people think, oh well, you're trying to do a British accent but you're not actually British. No, actually they are British, but after you've spent 10 years of your life in America, it starts to
Mhm.
meld a little
Yeah.
bit and just changes the way you speak. So but I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on with that.
Okay. I
It
mean,
drives
like
me
I
nuts.
said, it didn't 90% of the time when I'm listening to her, I just hear Canadian. I don't know. That's kind of what I hear, but I just didn't twig on it, I guess. So, but yeah, interesting.
Unfortunately I did. I wish I could just ignore it, but it's just drives me, it just really bugs me.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, I really liked her performance in this episode. I thought she was terrific against Vance, and I was just like every scene where they had the negotiations, and of course, without saying the words, and someone I wish, oh shoot, I need to credit them. It might have been Tristan Schwartz on the Positively Trek discussion board, coined the term crapple. I'm like, that's good. I like that. That whole
Yeah.
discussion of the of where the Federation's food on Starfleet headquarters comes from, and just the look of shock and horror on
And then
Osiris' face. I was cracking up at that point. That was terrific.
yeah, that was, I feel like that was just one of many subtle power moves by Vance during this
Oh,
entire
totally.
negotiation. Because as much as Osira thinks of herself, there was never one point where she was in control of that discussion.
Hmm.
Not one.
I think my favorite moment of Osiris, though, like that was pretty good, but my favorite was, she's been telling the truth the whole time. But then when, said, oh, this person wouldn't just be a proxy for you, they would be completely separate. Oh, of course. That was a lie. Oh, a glitch. Just like puts her back to him. Ask me again. I just really like that. I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, because she got caught. And well, here's an interesting point that I brought up on what the future holds as well is Eli was there. I mean, we saw Eli back when they first arrived at Federation headquarters and everybody was getting debriefed and whatnot. But how do we know that he was also monitoring Vance?
Mm-hmm.
Because he might have just been monitoring Osira. So I wonder if all of that stuff that Vance said was true at the very end, where he's just like, I want to learn from your people. I want to partner with the Emerald Chain and all this stuff. And I'm like, but does he?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he was playing her. So, and I love it when he drops the bomb of, oh yeah, and this person is going to be completely autonomous from you and then try you for your crimes.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Boom.
I did love that moment, and I could be wrong, but I get the feeling of honesty and like a true thing from Vance, where that he's kind of impassioned at the end, and I think he knows that like the Federation is on its last legs, and it would be really easy. I think the easy road would absolutely be to partner with the Emerald Chain and like gain strength that way, make some compromises on some issues, and get the strength back up that way. But he's not willing to do that, right? Without real change and real reparations is the wrong word, but real movement on stuff, he's not going to sacrifice those principles. And I get the feeling that in his position is a really hard thing to do, because he knows what that means for the Federation, but also it's impossible for him to do otherwise, which is brilliant. And I absolutely go back on anything I ever said about him being a bad Admiral or Starfleet. I'm
Thank
like, nope,
you.
they're great. They're great.
Thank
He's the
you.
true Admiral in this one.
I have been saying this the entire series, and
Yep.
finally I am vindicated.
See, now I never said you wouldn't be. I just had suspicions and was wondering how it would play out, and I'm
Yeah.
absolutely able to admit when I'm wrong. There's
And
nothing
I
wrong with
appreciate
that.
that. No, I appreciate that, because I never lost the faith. Never lost the faith.
Mm-hmm. So I
So,
really loved him in this episode. I thought he was
oh
terrific.
yeah. I hope that he turned a lot of hearts and minds to the truth that he's awesome.
He is excellent.
Yeah, but that does bring up a question that I think people are talking about it in the chat too, is there really a Federation president? Because we've heard a name drop, but we've not seen a Federation president.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That seemed odd, that whole business with that. Unless it's something they're going to follow up in the next episode, which it feels like there is, or something there. So I've had a speculation, and this is totally based on nothing, but we've never seen a Federation president. Is in fact the Federation at this moment in time, and I'm using this term, but I'm not attaching like a judgment to it or anything like that. Just a simple statement of what that government would be. Is it a military dictatorship at the moment? Like, is it Starfleet running the government, and maybe Vance is actually in control, but they're maybe hiding that from the general, the way he talks to Osira about it, kind of covering that up a little bit. I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the case. It's based on no evidence whatsoever, but
I know. Yeah. It's just curious that we haven't really focused on that aspect of the Federation up until these last little few episodes. And so I wonder if we are going to see a Federation president. And I think Vance referred to the Federation president as a he, but I can't remember exactly.
That sounds right, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah, and I've seen the episode twice. You would think I would know. I should have watched that part again before we did the show, but I'm sorry, I was busy watching Cobra Kai, but that's another story. I just wonder if it's going to be something unexpected or something we will recognize but didn't see coming. I just don't know what to think. Maybe we won't actually ever see the Federation president. It could all just be a big red herring.
Yeah, I do love Sabko says, I think Jesse said, yes, we have a president, but we need to cast one. That's cute. I like that. I haven't watched Jesse's video yet, unfortunately, but I remember having this kind of wondering, and I didn't really talk about it back in Unification 3 when Vance was like, oh, I'll contact the diplomatic team and whatever, and well, whatever. And I'm like, that seems like an odd role for the commander-in-chief of Starfleet, like that feels like a civilian government thing. And I was like, is there a civilian government? We have, because I hadn't even mentioned one until then, other than saying that this is both Federation headquarters and Starfleet headquarters. That's the only kind of distinction they'd given. So until this episode, a president hasn't even been mentioned. So I am curious about that.
I guess we'll see on Thursday.
This is interesting. Okay. So Xerxes says in French, Vance uses the feminine. So interesting. I need to watch again. I thought he said, I could be wrong though, because I honestly don't remember exactly.
I don't remember seeing that in the subtitles.
Hmm.
Because I watch all Discovery episodes. Actually, I watch pretty much everything with the subtitles on now, because sometimes there is dialogue that is missed if I'm not watching with subtitles. So, yeah, I don't recall seeing La Presidente in the
Yeah, but
subtitles.
you wouldn't watch it in French subtitles, though.
Oh,
You'd
well,
watch
that's
it in
fair.
English.
But again, it was, if I remember correctly, it was just the president. It
The
was not,
president, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't genderfied at all.
Yeah, but it's
Which
not in
doesn't happen in
English.
English.
Yeah,
But
it
why
is in
but
French, I
why would
think.
they do that? That makes no sense.
Hmm.
That makes no
I don't know.
sense.
Okay. Let's talk. Ooh, okay. I'm looking at the topics here. Let's talk Aurelio, Kenneth Mitchell. The return of
My
Kenneth
heart.
Mitchell.
My heart.
Oh man, sans makeup this time
Mhm.
around, or sans prosthetic makeup, I should say. I'm sure he's wearing stage makeup. But yeah, we see him not as a Klingon. So those who don't know, Kenneth Mitchell played Cole of House Core in season 1, Cole's father, Kolsha, in season 2, and then the son of none,
Cannot.
Ash Tyler, and Laurel's son Tanavik on Boreth. I knew his name. I was just getting there. I was using his title first. But yeah, we get to see him in this episode. Oh, and he was also a voice in Lower Decks, I should say. He did have a
Yes.
role in Lower Decks as well. But yeah, we get to see him without his Klingon makeup this time around. So awesome to see Kenneth Mitchell. I'd heard, of course, that he would be in season 4, have been waiting, and we got to see him here. Question, and there's debate about this online. I haven't seen anything one way for sure or another. Maybe there's behind the scenes stuff I don't know about. Is he married to Osira?
Why would she call him old friend if they were married?
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think it's Osira.
I don't think
Because I'm
so either.
pretty
There's
sure
a lot of
Osira's.
people speculating he might be.
Yeah, but why would it be Osira? Because I cannot in any way picture her settling down long enough to birth a baby.
That was actually kind of the biggest problem I had with that as well. Was like I
Yeah.
can't picture that. But
Well, that's just not in her plan.
mhm.
And again, I also say, why would she call him old friend?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I've
I
not seen
did not.
anybody raise that yet.
I didn't see that connection between them at all.
No. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and I really enjoy his character too, because he seems to be a real believer in the Emerald Chain, at least as far as the narrow vision of it that he's been presented, because he's been kind of raised and in it and not really shown what's going on beyond that. And I love his discussion with Stamets, where it's so good, where Stamets is talking about the Emerald Chain that he has seen and that he knows, and the look on his face is not complete disbelief, but just like confusion, that like this doesn't seem right. But this guy seems to be he feels like he's telling the truth. What's going on here? And I thought that was really interesting.
Yes, Stamets, as my husband pointed out, is being very smart about how he talks to Aurelio in the beginning. And he talks about, he notices the piercings behind his ear, which indicate that he has children. And that's something that Aurelio didn't expect, because he's just like, oh, I see you have children. He's like, wait, what? It's like, well, the piercings. And he says, I also have a child.
That moment.
And I also have a partner. I know, space dads. And that's a very good technique of humanizing yourself in your captor's eyes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's necessarily trying to manipulate Aurelio, because they're both scientists, they're both very intelligent men. But at the same time, Stamets is also helping him to see, hey, our places could just as easily be switched. right now. And so I'm basically he's humanizing himself to Aurelio in a way to seek a kind of connection that you wouldn't normally have in this particular situation. And that's very smart of him to do, because that is how you change someone's mind, is just show them who you are and show them what they don't see yet.
Yeah, for sure. Just as a quick little sidebar tangent here, Alexandra, this is why I love crowdsourcing stuff with people in the comments and stuff. So Spanish subtitles, out of curiosity, using the masculine for president. So
I'm not trusting the subtitles one bit.
That's kind of the thing. As she mentions later, of course, subtitles have been wrong before. There's the famous Una incident from the season finale last year on Discovery, where very clearly Pike says, Una, you take the con, and the Crave subtitles had it as one thing, the CBS All Access had it as something else, and Netflix overseas had like something completely different. So who knows? But
yeah, you know what else they messed up on in that episode is when she's talking about having retrofitted all of the shuttles already, just in case the ship hits the fan. That's not what they put in the subtitle. They actually used the swear word in the subtitle, and I'm like,
well, doesn't she actually say that though? Because
no, she says ship. Watch her
Really?
lips. She says ship.
Oh, because I thought the Blu-ray subtitles had the swear word as well. So
she says ship.
Okay, I hear it totally differently. That's funny.
That's why it was funny.
Oh,
she was making a joke.
Okay, sure. What do we got here? Tilly. Okay, here we go. Another part that I really like. I'm gonna call this Tilly and the rest of the command crew as well, though, because that whole group has some awesome stuff. They, of course, have been sequestered and shut away. And we get a really awesome scene where, of course, Reese and Bryce, I think, are tapping out Morse code to each other. But it really actually turns out to be more of a distraction than anything else. Like they're just keep tapping to each other kind of thing. And I said this on the podcast with Bruce as well. It turns out that the Owoshikun that we saw in the Mirror Universe being such a badass was actually foreshadowing for this episode, because damn, that was cool.
Yes. Dave and I thought the exact same thing.
Oh, like, man.
Who knew Owo had moves like that? Oh, wait, Mirror Owo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were definitely feeling the Mirror Owo vibe. So well done, Owo. Well done.
That was great. Yeah, her and Detmer and all of them really just really great showing there. That was amazing. So they managed to get themselves loose and go arm themselves. And let's put a pin in that and not talk about the very end of the episode yet. Because there's still some stuff that I want to talk about. Let's go back to Aurelio and his kind of what I think is going to be his awakening to the true nature of Osira and the chain. And he's kind of seeing another side that he's never seen before. And Osira's like, you don't have to be here. You can leave. And he's like, no, I'll stick around. And I think he gets a bit of an awakening to what kind of person Osira really is, with the loss of a really terrific character. And Noah Averbach-Katz, his seeming departure from the show for now anyway, when Osira gets rid of Rin in a pretty brutal way. Sad to see Rin gone.
Yeah, the look on Book's face was the look on my face when that happened. I was just like, it's like someone had punched me in the solar plexus. I'm just like, No, he's not dead. He's not dead, right? He's not dead. That was just a trick, right? He's not dead, right? He's not dead.
Oh, that was
He's
brutal.
totally dead. Because Noah posted on Twitter with the heading that said spoilers.
I
and
know.
then talked about how grateful he was to have spent that brief time on Discovery. And I'm just like, make him a Ken Mitchell / Jeffrey Combs / that guy who played Admiral Forrest, whose name I can't remember right now, / James Sloyan / bring him back as another character. Do not waste this boy.
Yeah, get him. He could be the next Vaughn Armstrong, who's the name you're looking for there.
Vaughn Armstrong. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Really, really sad to see him go. I hope that we see him again in he's under a lot of makeup, so he could be someone else. Absolutely. Definitely. So
many aliens he could play.
So feel like we could bring in another voice here to talk about stuff, and if this person is ready, just give a thumbs up and I got a nod. Okay, well, hey Bruce, how's it going? That was amazing.
I have to ask the question, can you hear me?
Yes!
I hear you.
Oh, okay, because I'm using a new microphone that I got for Christmas.
Oh,
excellent.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely sound different.
Okay.
I can
Do
hear
I
you.
sound good?
Yeah.
You always sound good, Bruce.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy.
I just heard Dan mention my name a little while ago, and I couldn't decide what his accent was. It sounds off the charts. Like I don't know. His R's don't sound right. I don't know. But to your point, Brandy, I was really noticing the change in accent throughout this episode for sure. So yeah.
Thank you. I feel vindicated. Thank you.
I'll have to keep an eye out for it when I watch it again. So
yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was watching. It was like, oh, her accent. Okay, I haven't noticed it. And then, oh wait, no, it's back to the. No wait, no,
it's inconsistent at best.
Yeah.
How's it going, Bruce?
Fine. I just wanted to stop in and say hi. I mean, I don't want to keep you guys from talking. Just ignore me.
Oh no. Part of it. You're part of it. No. We're happy to have you back.
He's so happy.
Oh man, the chat exploded when you came in. That's awesome.
Oh, I'm not even looking at that.
Yes.
Well, we're kind of nearing the end of the episode.
Well, then see ya. Bye. Oh.
Sorry. That was just too tempting.
I love it when you get
feisty. Before we get into kind of the last little bit of the episode, is there anything that we haven't talked about before we get to like the last scene that I've missed? Because we've kind of been jumping around, so I'm like, I might have missed something. I'm not sure.
Book and Michael love each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did like that moment. I also loved that, like, you said, this is the first time I've said I love you, and almost the first time you talk in your sleep. I thought that was terrific.
That actually reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Because Indy is asking his dad, how did you know she was a Nazi? And he's like, what? How did you know she was a Nazi? Oh, she talks in her sleep.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And he's just staring at him, and he just does. And at that moment, Indy is like, ew, we slept with the same woman. Gross. Yeah, sorry.
Oh man, that's
so
funny.
We talked on our recording of the podcast earlier. Yeah, is this one of those tropes where we have the two characters confess their love, they get separated, and then something happens?
Nope.
I'm just going la 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 la. No, I do not want that.
Because it's been confirmed that David Ajala is in season 4. So
All right, fair enough.
That's good to know.
But is sine qua Martin Grit? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously.
Yes, she is. She did a video with Duck Jones and everything.
That's good.
That's good. Okay. I'm happy. I'm a little relieved there because, yeah.
Yeah. Or they
Yeah.
break up.
Oh, yeah.
They could break up, but I don't really see that happening.
No,
I mean, they just who breaks up with Book? I mean, it's Book. Everybody loves Book.
unless you have a grudge.
Okay, stop it. I'm starting to hurt from that. I shouldn't have had all that chili for dinner.
I gotta say, I love you guys.
Ooh, I love you guys too.
I love you guys too. I had to join you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Now, Brandy, when you said you had a lot to say about this episode, have we said most or all of that, or
Most of it? I will say, first of all, I still don't get what's going on with the regulators in like the stormtrooper outfits. And when I say stormtrooper, I'm talking about Nazi stormtroopers, like old World War II SS stuff.
Yeah.
Why do they sound so mechanical? Why do they act so mechanical? What is going on there? I want to know who they are, because not all the regulators are like that. Because the regulator that Michael took out was just a normal human. It seemed. So I'm just curious as what's going on there. Also, I said at the beginning of the episode, I turned to Dave and I said, you know that Zora ain't going to stand for this, right? And he's just like, I guess we'll see. And then they talk about how there's that one system that they haven't been able to convert. And they're like, well, what is it? Oh, it's just a small piece of data. And I'm like, small piece of data? And then she shows it to Osira, and it's that bit of the movie that they showed at movie night. And I'm like, oh, Zora's on the case. Zora's on the case. Zora's on the case. Where is she hiding? So I was just waiting to see how that panned out. And then I forgot about it for a long time until the end of the episode.
Absolutely. One thing, and we kind of did the same in the podcast, I'm realizing we kind of forgot that the Zara guy was there. Like, oh yeah, he comes back. And
sucks.
I liked him in the first episode he was in. I really thought he was, kind of interesting. In this episode, I feel like he just kind of faded into the background. And I
feel like that's always where he was. But that's just
yeah. No, I liked him at the start, but
his hand was
the parasitic ice got to him.
Yeah.
I'm so sad for him.
I just want somebody to kick his ass. That's all I want.
I'm looking forward to that because it's going to happen and it's going to be amazing.
It's going to happen. He's either going to have his butt handed to him, or Osira's just going to, blast him like she did.
So I'm pretty sure he's going to have some butt kick at the hands of Michael Burnham, because that's where we leave them at the end of the episode, right? Is Michael has sent Stamets out, and he just like, you're going to really regret that you did that.
Yes. I want her to kick the ship out of him and make him into an apple.
That's a callback.
Yes. In fact, let's kick the ship out of him and him out of the ship.
Oh, hey-o. Marg, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you as well, and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much. 47. I love it. Very nice. Very cute.
That warms my heart.
Love it.
Can you do 47 cents in there? I'm just curious.
Probably.
I don't know. It just depends on why. Why would you do 47 cents only?
Or $47.
$47.47. There you go.
There you go. So let's talk about the end of this episode then, because we've kind of been dancing around it, but we get the approach of the dot. Was it the 23s? Dot 23s, the little robot, and a bunch of them with the sphere data, apparently. So We get not named Zora yet, but I think that's coming soon. But she's got, of course, the voice of Zora from Calypso. The sphere data has put itself in the .23s and is going to help Tilly take back the ship with her crew there. So that was a terrific ending. I was cheering at that point.
Yes, I love the matter-of-fact way that I'm just going to call her Zora, that Zora says it. Shall we take back the ship?
And the little salute, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's adorable. I love it.
Did you notice on the .23s around, I think it was their eyes, one had yellow, one was blue, one was red?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I noticed that.
That's cool. I like that. The 3 department colors.
Yeah.
That's the science one. That's the engineering or security one. That's the command one. Cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yep.
That's cool.
I was very excited because when they started hearing noises, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We haven't seen Zora yet. But I didn't know it was dots coming until I saw like part of an arm, and I'm like, oh, it's the dots. It's the dots. Perfect. That's just perfect. And now they're all armed and they've got the sphere data and they are going to go kick some butt. And I am so there for it.
Absolutely.
Ready.
Same. Let's kick some butt. We're kicking a lot of things coming up in this episode.
Yes.
Well, that's a season finale, you know. They've got to set everything up for that. So.
We're peaceful Federation. We're a peaceful Starfleet. We shouldn't be kicking anything.
We shouldn't have to, but there are extreme cases in which butt kicking is absolutely sanctioned and necessary and entertaining.
And in defense mode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And by the way, speaking of defense mode, I too, Brandy, was watching Cobra Kai today too.
Were you?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Nice. So I'm going to take this opportunity because we can't do this often. We haven't been able to really do this, but I can freely ask everyone here, what do you think is going to happen next week? Because I know you don't know this time around, and it makes me happy.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. I do not know.
So what are we expecting in the season finale? What's like your checklist of expectations?
Well, I've of course seen the next week on Star Trek Discovery, which gives you almost zero information. It makes it clear that Saru at least makes it back to the ship. I'm assuming that Culber and Idira do as well. But no real clues as to how they take back the ship, what is going on with Su'Kal, what actually really did cause the burn, and how are they going to solve that problem? There's so many things that I just don't have a clue how they're going to turn out. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because I don't like to be able to predict everything. Like I said before, I do believe the co-op Milot will show up. So, because, there's no other reason to show us Michael sending that message. And they'll probably just be like, ooh, lost cause, let's go.
Yeah, that's my big, I really want to see the Romulan warrior nuns show up, right? I mean...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I want to see some swords. Dispatching some people that should have never become criminals and taken over Discovery and forced their way into the Federation / Starfleet headquarters and made everybody upset.
Those jerks. So, Bruce, how about you? What do you want to see next week?
I want to know more about the burn.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that.
I want to know more about the burn. I want to know, is there some mystery to the president of the Federation or not? Or is it just that they're not wanting to introduce this character into the storyline? What else do I want to know or see? Yeah, I just want to see people kicking butt. And I also want to see what happens at the very end with Burnham. Is she still in her same position that she's in now? Does she become the first officer? What happens with Tilly? Does she become the permanent first officer? Is Saru still the captain? I want to know where we end up with those things.
Yeah. I do wonder if there's going to be not necessarily a cliffhanger with regards to like what's happening now, but like still a cliffhanger ending of some kind, because we have gotten a cliffhangery ending for 2 seasons now. So I don't see them necessarily wrapping everything up and having a nice bow and like, yay, we're all ready for next season's adventures, whatever they may be. I don't think we're going to get something like that. So I do wonder those questions you brought up about everyone's position. My prediction is that's still going to be in a bit of flux because they're going to be in the middle of whatever it is they're going to set us up for season 4 with. That's my guess there. And again, just total guess based on nothing. So,
yeah, I feel like, and this is kind of what Discovery does, and this is actually a lot of the time what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did, which made me really appreciative of the way that they would end seasons. Because season 1, we finished off that story, but before the episode ended, a new story started, which left us on a cliffhanger, but not an unsatisfactory one.
Right. Yeah.
Same thing happened.
One will be wrapped up. Yeah.
So same thing with season 2. We had, Michael and the Discovery going into the future. There's a cliffhanger there. We don't know what they're going to find, but we still get the stuff wrapping up everything that's happened in the time that we were in at that moment. So it was still satisfactory. It was still one of those things where I'm just like, now I gotta wait how many months before I get new Trek, which I'll feel that way regardless. But it's not going to be that feeling of, how are they going to pay this off? Because everything that needs to be paid off has been, but now we're entering a new story.
Exactly.
And I like that that's how they're doing it. I appreciate that. And I think the fans in general appreciate that. You've got to have some kind of closure.
Yes. I need closure with Giorgio. I want to know where she landed when she went through the Guardian Forever.
Yes. I would really love it.
I
really love it.
I can't wait long. I need to know. I want this to be like something at the end credits or whatever it is. Or maybe she just shows up on the bridge and Burnham's like, Philippa? And she's like, damn, I'm not supposed to be here. And she disappears again.
That sort of impatience is exactly the thing that the people over at CBS All Access love to hear. They're like, excellent. Good. We hooked them.
They're evil.
In the best way.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll finish up with final thoughts on the episode and ratings, and that goes for people in the chat as well. I'll throw up your ratings as you give them on the screen here. Brandy, why don't we start with you? What are your final thoughts and rating for the episode?
Well, this episode was a lot, and I'm sure that there were many people who were thinking we were going to get back to the nebula. Thank you. I have had some good laughs today, and they have all been while I've been talking about Trek. So thank you, Star Trek, for generating all of this laughter. What was I saying? There were people who were probably thinking we were going to go back to the Veruba Nebula, and I actually didn't really feel its absence. I feel like if they had crammed some of that in there, it would have been too much. So I appreciate that it was all focused where it was. And now we'll hopefully get that wrap up that we need come Thursday here in the States. And I enjoyed so much of this episode. I enjoyed seeing Vance really come into his own as a character, and us to finally see what he's really capable of, and how good of a negotiator he is, and how he just totally owned Osira. It's so great. There were just so many things to love. Loved seeing Ken Mitchell. Still heartbroken about Rin. So basically, a lot of me during this episode was I look at this episode kind of like the way that Book looks when after Rin's been killed, just kind of like, what just happened? And that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Bruce, how about you?
Oh, Dan, you already know what I think of this episode.
I know, but the people don't.
The people.
People want to know.
Let me share with the people. I worked for a guy that anytime we referred to people, he's like, what are you saying people for? You're not Moses. They're not your people. But I don't know why he used to say that. But anyway, this episode, I didn't come away from this like I did with some other episodes this season. I mean, I like the episode, but just not as well as some others. But I think that's because they're, like you said, Brandon, there's a lot crammed in there, and I feel like they're setting a lot of things up. So to me, this came across as like the setup. And now I'm ready to get to the meat of the conclusion of this. So I think this episode will probably resonate more with me once I see how it ends in the next episode. But to that, I would say that I'm giving this 7 out of 10 taps of the finger. That's my little Morse code.
Nice. Yeah, I really liked this episode. It does, I think, suffer a little bit from being the middle chapter of a 3-part story. There's a lot of questions raised that don't get answers. That said, I'm totally on board with everything in this episode, like the performances, the action, the directing. I just really, really enjoyed this one. One thought that I had that I haven't mentioned in the live stream yet was, and I think I brought this up on the podcast, was that it feels kind of the same as the season premiere did, where we just get Burnham and we don't see what's happening on Discovery. And that helps us empathize a bit more with Burnham because she doesn't know what's going on, and so that carries through. The audience doesn't know what's going on either. In this episode, we don't see what's happening on the planetoid, on the crashed ship. We assume, but we don't know for sure, that Saru and Adira and Culber are okay. And, you know, of course they are, but we don't see that. And so we empathize with Stamets and everyone else who don't know their fates as well. So I thought that worked really well. And I actually really liked that we didn't get a glimpse of that. So I'm going to give this episode one really cool personal force field that acts as an escape pod. And I'm like, that's really cool. It's almost close to like the force shield belts from the animated series. I was like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. I thought that was so neat. So I look at this episode the way I look at that, going like, oh, that's cool. So yeah. So I guess, is this a rating? I'm going to say that's a rating. 3 out of 3 original Unready room hosts for the live stream. It's a very good rating.
Thank you. It's most appreciative.
Yeah.
Most appreciative.
So yeah, thank you all so much for joining, and thank you, Bruce, for dropping in, and thank you, Brandy, for being here as usual. And to everyone in the comments, thank you for sharing your thoughts and being with us and enjoying this episode. So happy 2021, everyone, and one more episode of Discovery. That's at least one episode of Trek we're getting in this year, so that's good news. And yeah, That Hope Is You Part 2. We finally get the payoff for that. They've renamed it.
What? Stop renaming.
I think they did that purposely for these last 3 episodes so that people wouldn't get certain ideas. It's kind of like cutting down on speculation.
Yeah. Those crafty devils.
Yeah, because when I saw the episode title for this one, I thought it took place on a beach, but I guess I was wrong.
It's actually a quote.
A Shakespeare quote, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Shakespeare quote.
From...
And I don't remember actually
It's from one of Shakespeare's plays.
It is.
Yeah, but somebody actually read the full quote to me, and I went, "Oh, that fits."
It's from
So
Julius Caesar, yeah.
yes, thank you. It is from Julius Caesar, and it's very applicable to this episode.
Well, let's close out the episode with that quote. So it's Brutus from Julius Caesar, and he says, "There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted all the voyage of their life, is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures."
I almost feel like that's about Vance.
It could apply to Vance, it could apply to Osira, and it could apply to the bridge crew of Discovery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's the most highbrow we're ever going to get on the Unready Room. So good night, everybody. And